The big question we're asking tonight is, has Myanmar State Councillor's visit to India given a substantive boost to India-Myanmar ties? To discuss that, we are joined by Dr. Rahul Mishra, Research Fellow with Indian Council of World Affairs. Welcome, Dr. Mishra, to Newsnight. How strategically important, according to you, is the statement that was made today by Aung San Suu Kyi that, in fact, it is there in the joint statement between India and Myanmar that both countries agree that states that support terrorism in any way need to be held to account in the context of the Uri terror attack?
I think this is a very significant statement that both the leaders have made, and this has come out in the joint statement. Let us also keep in mind that Myanmar is one country that has always supported India in its fight against state-sponsored terrorism. And this is not the first time. After 26/11 also, Myanmar had supported India's case, and it had said that it had condemned terrorism, terrorist attacks and terrorism in any form that was perpetrated against India. Now, the big shift, I would say, is that the other countries are also supporting alongside Myanmar. You have Bangladesh, Bhutan, Afghanistan, and in the BIMSTEC summit, these countries supported
they expressed solidarity with India.
They expressed solidarity, and they supported this idea that there has to be a regional mechanism to deal with the menace of terrorism. So that's one significant
Besides CCIT, because Myanmar has also supported early finalization of that global legal regime against terrorism.
Yes, that's at a different level in the sense that it deals with the international norms as to how you deal with the terror attacks and terror financing and issues like that. But in this case, the real challenge really is how to deal with terrorism at the regional level. How does South Asia deal with terrorism the way it is posing a challenge to us?
Okay.
So that's one significant step. And second, we've the Indian establishment is sort of reassured that Myanmar is with India on this issue of terrorism.
Okay. Insofar as border security is concerned, India and Myanmar have cooperated for a very, very long time. Do you expect this cooperation to move from strength to strength as far as operations along the Indo-Myanmar border is concerned? I'm referring to the presence of insurgent groups in Myanmarese territory along the Indian-Myanmar border.
Absolutely. There are several mechanisms, more than half a dozen mechanisms to deal with the border management, border security, and also border trade. So there are ministerial level dialogues, there are dialogues which involve the military personnel, military officer. So a number of dialogues are already in process. What has happened with Aung San Suu Kyi's visit is that the top leaders have discussed this. And what we are going to see in times to come is more coordination, more synergy between India and Myanmar on not just on border troubles along the border, but also how to make these borders a sort of corridors for greater engagement. So this is what one expects from the statement and from the indication that these two leaders have given.
Where do you see the development partnership between India and Myanmar headed, especially after 3 agreements, one in the field of power, the other 2 in the field of banking and insurance sectors were signed? And we know that that relationship, if you quantify it, stands at around $2 billion US.
Well, first thing is that that we have to appreciate the fact that most of these agreements that are signed today, MOUs that were signed today, there is a continuity. What we have seen this time is that India has implemented what it had promised. I remember in August 2016 when Myanmar President Thein Chow visited India, we had promised that we are going to sign the power agreement very soon. That had happened.
And at that point in time, 4 MOUs were also signed.
Yeah, 4 MOUs
on different
were
issues, yes.
Signed, and those 4 MOUs were one was on connectivity, looking at India-Myanmar, Thailand Trail Highway, then the 69 bridges, then one was on electricity, and another one was on traditional medicine. So we had promised a number of things. We are working on that. This time around, what we have done is we have completed one, in the sense that we promised something, we are going to work further on that. So far as capacity building is concerned, the human resource development is concerned, we've been doing quite a lot. We have supported financially as well as in terms of supporting them in terms of manpower. The hospital in Yangon, there is a Myanmar Institute of Information Technology, MIIT, Agriculture Research Center. A lot of things have already happened. What we are doing is we are adding more value to it. We are adding more substance to it.
We've also decided to invest more in research and pulses, for example, in Myanmar during the visit of Aung San Suu Kyi this time around. So how
Yes.
important are these aspects of the development partnership?
Well, Myanmar is the second biggest source of import for India.
As far as
Second biggest supplier of pulses.
pulses is concerned. Yeah.
So the decision that the two sides have taken is why don't we regularize this? Why don't we come up with a process, a formal process through which we could do this on a regular basis rather than doing this in ad hoc fashion?
Could this also give a substantive jump to the bilateral trade, which is quite modest between India and Myanmar?
Well, the bilateral trade is modest because we don't deal with big items. What we have done is we only have primary commodities, in the sense that we trade mostly in agricultural items. There are some gems and jewelry that comes from Myanmar. From the Indian side, you have pharmaceuticals and others, which needs to be upgraded, in the sense that you have to give in more services, establish more hospitals in Myanmar and send your doctors there.
And currently the balance of trade is in Myanmar's favor in the India-Myanmar
right.
trade
So
relationship.
to enhance trade, in December last year, we done away with the barter trade along the India-Myanmar border. We've opened Jokhothar in Mizoram as another land customs station. So we are trying to enhance bilateral trade. But what we have to do is we have to look for big ticket items rather than just focusing on essential commodities and looking at primary goods. We have to look at some major projects, and that should include setting up more hospitals there, including your services sector in Myanmar. Also looking more towards infrastructure and oil and gas sectors. So these are the
I was
items.
coming to energy security.
Yeah.
So on that front, where do you see this relationship headed?
Well, on energy security, I think India's ONGC and GAIL already have quite a number of projects with them. Currently, the stakes are for OVL, it is 17.5%. For GAIL, it's around 8%. So they have stakes. What we have to do is go for bigger investment ventures, look for more exploratory projects that could give you more yield in terms of production of oil and gas resources.
And Aung San Suu Kyi did meet the business leaders and said, invest in trust and confidence in us. So it's also said that if there is, greater energy ties between the two countries, greater banking, insurance, power ties between the two countries, and it will also give a boost to bilateral trade. And you are saying that it is important to look at big ticket trade deals and big ticket investments. Also, towards the end, I would want you to weigh in on the fact that many countries in the region, or at least China, would be looking closely at the visit of Aung San Suu Kyi. So what should be India's strategy vis-a-vis China as far as Myanmar is concerned?
India's strategy vis-a-vis China should be one, just focus on your bilateral ties. You just have to focus on Myanmar and don't look around, see what others are saying. That's point number one. Second, India has to implement what it has promised and do that quickly. India has to also think big. Don't just look at Myanmar as a country in the neighborhood, and don't look at your relationship bilaterally. Look at it in a regional context. So like we've been saying for long that Myanmar is central to Act East policy, time I think has come when we have to situate Myanmar in Act East policy, look at the other 9 countries in the ASEAN region and how to leverage your relationship with Myanmar and get more benefits out of your Act East policy, out of your engagements with Myanmar. And not just on a strategic terms, but also on economic, people to people, tourism and culture, and a lot of, there are several dimensions on which you could focus. The point really is focus on the bigger picture, look for big ticket items, and also focus on what others are doing in the region. For example, you have to also look at how Singapore is investing in Myanmar. Japan and Korea are doing it in Myanmar. So rather than just being narrowly focused on what China is doing, you have to also look at what Japan and Korea are doing. And there, I think, lies a lot of opportunity.
Okay, so you're saying look at the big picture and act big. So thank you, Dr. Mishra, for having joined us on Newsnight tonight.
Thank you.